so ein frohes Weihnachtsfest. Für all die sich schlecht benehmenden Kinder. Bald in meinem Korb, dann in den Sarg.
It's Christmas time, and all seems fine. You spent the year without fear, misbehaved and mistreated others. He comes for you, brothers and sisters.
Jingle bell time is a swell time for Krampus to spend the night. You'll be hiding, filled with fright. Your Krampus is punishing delight. Lashing his chains and jingling the bell, he's come to take you to hell. Too late to repent, your tears are spent. Krampus comes calling. For mercy you'll be longing, beaten with branches and sticks, 'cause you chose to play trick. Joke's on you, you selfish fool. Now, what's left is a dreadful mess. Jingle bell time is a swell time for Krampus to spend the night. You'll be hiding, filled with fright. Your Krampus is punishing delight. Into the basket you'll go, taken in the snow. Tears you'll cry and pain you'll sow. No one can save you, not that anyone should. I wouldn't even if I could. Should have been better, should I behave? Now you're the one, no one can save.
Gute Nacht an alle, die gedient haben. Seien sie im kommenden Jahr gut gelaunt, oder ich werde dich nicht sehen.
favor the wave, reaching a dismal height. A new cycle has begun, the collapse of kingdoms, a new world rising, politics colliding. The truth becoming a stranger, 1,000 years, the end of an era. History moves, it bends. When morals and spirituality become extinct to humanity, salvation hides where many won't seek, as an uncontrollable darkness swallows the world whole. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. The future looks grim from here to end, as darkness slithers in, up from your desert sand. A beast rises, a lion body ahead of a man, a soulless blank gaze, pitiless. An ancient power moving with purpose, showing no mercy, pushing itself into being. Cold, slow, and inevitable. Birds flying in confusion as the ghostly remnants remain as echoes of the old world are left in. And prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, a warning. A warning.
Yep. All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable, PRT. Oh, man. Welcome to the real reality, right? Oh. My friend yesterday at the mall, he told me I'm looking thin, that I'm looking like I'm not doing well because I've lost weight. And I'm like, well, I'm doing well. Because where he's from, like if you're looking thinner, you're like, you're not eating, you're not doing good. But over here, it's like you're unhealthy, like, oh, he's really fat. He's just an unhealthy fat person. So when you lose weight, over here, it's like, oh, you're looking good. Yeah. But to them, you're like, you're so skinny, my friend. Are you dying? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not dying.
Do you not eat?
I'm just getting thinner. That's all. So worked out today. I felt good, man. Today I had some issues really bad. My hip is so bad. My hip, it was just yesterday. I could barely walk. The day before it was even worse. But I was walking yesterday. Today it started getting better.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah. I just, I think one of those Aggies cursed me.
Yeah.
From the, how they were talking, crying, whining,
From the little brother energy. Yeah. Putting curses on Josh Turner. He never belonged to the paranormal community anyway. Stupid crap.
Nothing uglier than burnt orange and his face. God, these people, they're wilding out, boy. They say some crazy, crazy stuff. Just it's so goofy, man. Some of the stuff they say is so wild. Let's see here. People asking while I'm on the show. I'm like, come on, man. Well, you're trying to do this and people are trying to get me to do work. I'm like, want to take a small break from work just for a minute, just get it done here. So you name the show Middle Eastern Vampires?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of a broad brush. This is more specific. But I don't name the shows, so I don't. I do my job.
I just try to name them like a little bit more broadly to get some kind of favor with the YouTube algorithm, which is just hard to. Like you'll see the most randomly dumbest named videos, and they're just on everyone's front page, but then like stuff with like interesting titles, it's just like falls through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but we gotta do something.
Yeah, our sub count's terrible, and because we don't buy fake bullcrap. Oh well, no big deal to me. I mean, just do what's right. Brandon says we need more cowbell. You're probably right about that.
There's never too much cowbell.
What's up, BMR? How's Bigfoot Michigan Rob doing, dude? I had a talk with Monica Rollins yesterday from Texas Front Porch. She's one of the porchers. And keep her in your prayers. She's going to be going through surgery. She's got a heart thing going on, and she's been just going through it. And there's several people in the community that are going through some things.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That one here.
Oh, thank you.
I'll just grab one.
It was weird. The light's on there, and it's usually not. And I look, and I saw the reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was a person standing there. I was like,
saw the reflection of a ghoul and realized, oh, that's just Tony.
Yeah, it's just Tony going. He's just going into the break room. Sorry, man. Thought there was. So it does hurt my feelings though. It really does. I sit up here and I got thousands of people who love me, tell me all kinds of crazy stuff. They send us gifts. We get gifts from all over the world.
Yeah. We
got a gift from Turkmenistan. You believe that? He's not from Turkmenistan. He's over there working, but he's. I thought it was cool. But he sent me a gift. He's actually Ukrainian by birth, but he's Americanized, and he went over there to work, and he's got a good job. So shout out to him. And because of that guy, that dude says, hey, do you want a vampire story? So I was thinking, it's a Ukrainian guy. Maybe he's got one from the Ukraine. We've heard some from Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And he started talking about a vampire, but the name he called it, I could not look. I looked it up. I tried finding it, and it was called the Turgolkef. Never heard of it. But he said where he's from in the area that's now occupied by Russia, it's like in that southeastern corridor, that the Turgolkef, or maybe I'm saying it wrong, I don't know. Turkey cough. It's got some weird name. And it's a Slavic vampire. Maybe somebody could help me with this. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I'm
trying to look it up.
What he said. And it's a vampire that's kind of like a bug, like an insect-looking thing.
Oh.
And it hangs out on a tree. And when you're out running around in that area, it'll fall down on you. But if you start doing the research on these vampires, and that's what we're doing right now to finish up the book, because I was not happy with the way that it was coming along. And there was just something missing. I know what it was. I figured it out. The lore. I wanted more of the lore in there. To go over these different regions and all these different places and to put it together, because that's what I think was missing. And now I think I figured it out. So, yeah, so the framework is done. I hired somebody to help me do the framework on it and get it, and she did her job. But I need to fill it. And so there's accounts there. But then there's a couple of them on there that are like, I thought that they were literally like duplicates. They weren't. That's what was so freaky. There was one from Philadelphia, and the Tonight Show is not about that, but there was one from Philadelphia where there was two different people, and they had a very similar encounter, but they were several years apart. In fact, I think it was 7 years apart, but So then I went back and I looked in my archives in my notes and I said, "Holy crap, that is the two different things." And so funny though, I remember interviewing the one guy. I only interviewed the other guy through email, but this one guy, I interviewed him, and here's kind of a funny thing. And I don't know what to say about this guy because he was so worried about his cheesesteak. Like he's not a Philadelphia native. He moved there and he's like, I've been for 2 weeks, and he goes, I worked on loading dock. And he said that I was there because his mother was dying and she had married a guy and they moved to Philly. And he's like, I'm not from there. I'm from New Jersey. And I'm like, is that an upgrade? I don't know. I'm joking. My Jersey friends are like, what are you talking about? Why are you doing?
Same book, different cover.
I got a couple of my old friends that are Jersey guys, and I don't want to say anything. And shout out to my friend Jack, who's in New York. He's a New York meathead. I call him that. He's Italian. He's a paisan. I've been asked many times if I was Italian, and I'm like, no. But yeah, it's funny because the guy was like, no, I'm from New Jersey, you know. So he's like right across the river or the water, you know, like he lives in that area. And his mother married a guy and ended up going to Philly. But anyway, the guy, like he was riding his bike. He was riding a bike doing a delivery job. And he had just gotten off and he was heading home and he had a bike. And he goes, and there was a place, you know, that I worked at, and we traded him pizza for a cheesesteak. And he goes, my first day on it's a second job. The guy works all the time. Loading docks, and after he gets off at 3, he be at the other job at 5 until midnight. Then he starts it all over. And he did this for like 2 months straight. And he goes, I didn't have any time to myself. Finally got to get a cheesesteak. He's like, and something attacks me. And so I was going to go ahead and pull that one out, and then we're gonna tell his story. We're gonna tell.
That's the worst part. It waits until he's about to eat to mess with him.
Yeah. So Joey, I'm going to tell your story. I grew up with one Italian guy named Joey Balboni, and he was the meanest little fucker ever. Excuse my language.
His name just sounds like he's like a mean little short dude.
Well, here's a weird thing about it, right? He was living with his grandmother, right? And his grandmother, it turns out, I always believed that she was in the witness protection program because I was like, where do these people come from? Like, they live in a small town.
Yeah.
It turns out I was right. She's gone now. She's been deceased for 20 years, but he messaged me one day. He's living out in not in Utah, Wyoming. Living out in Wyoming. He got a job on a ranch out near Hearn years ago. There's a lot of Italians down there. So I thought maybe that's where he was from. He's like, no. So he got a job on a ranch, and he started, so he messaged me. And I've known since we were teenagers. Because me and my friends, we were like, where's this guy come from? Like, he just fell out of the sky, you know? And he was living in between Taylor and Granger, you know? And so I was like, what's he doing? Like, you know? And so he wanted to learn how to ride a horse. And I had riding horses I was young. So I took him to my friend's ranch and, taught him how to ride a horse. And they fell in love with it. And he's just like, I want to be a cowboy. And his story was that he was from Hoboken, New Jersey. But I didn't think that was correct. But anyway, his grandmother passed away. And she was actually in the witness protection program, according to what he told me. I didn't go verify that. I just believe him because that's probably right. Because we were all like, where does this kid come from? You know? Just weird.
Yeah.
He's a short little dude. He's only like 5'7", but he beat the hell out of you. You know, he couldn't pick up something and beat you with it. So he rolled around with a bunch of us, you know, and we were just like, oh, there's us. I mean, I'm Hispanic, but I look like a white guy. My mom's Hispanic, but my dad's white. And then there's him. You know, just whatever, it works, you know.
Mixed bag.
And then when I was playing football, you know, like a lot of my friends, you know, they're black. I was playing football with them, you know, and stuff. And we got along. And the Gen X, it wasn't all this racial shit that you got now. Like everybody's so sensitive about it.
Yeah.
But then again, we had like gun racks on our truck windows. Like you're in the parking lot. And so one of my friends, Steven, actually has a picture of one of our friends who has a gun rack. And it's like he's standing there talking to his other friend of mine, Keith. And he's got a gun rack in the back of his GMC truck.
Yeah.
And it was like in 1992. Nobody thought anything of that. It was just like that. It was normal. Nowadays, it's like, you're going to do a shooting. You're going to,
Yeah.
you know, or if you mention anything or go like that, pew, pew, everybody freaks out. I mean, I understand because there's a bunch of psychopaths out there, but we should be, in my opinion, treating the mental illness that contributes to that instead of just being afraid that the gun is going to magically go and do whatever.
Mhm.
People that are nuts have to actually take it and do it.
Accountable.
Yeah. I mean, but anyway, he this guy, he was from he's not from there, but he was living in Philly. He said, I've been there to visit many times, but living there was another deal. He goes, it was horrible. He's like, and there are vampires there. He fully believes it now because he asked me point blank when I talked to this guy, you know, his name is Joey, you know, I was like, what do you think, you know, what do you think it was? And he flat out told me, he goes, I'm going to agree with you that this flying humanoid phenomenon, that these could be vampires. And then you have the whole question about whether or not it is, and we got started a little bit, you know, whatever. I mean, usually wait till 300, but what is a vampire? Like tonight's story. So the guy from Turkmenistan, he's a Ukrainian guy, and I've known him since I started the show. He's a fan. When he listens, and he's gotten me international fans too. You know, not like a lot, like a handful of people. You know. And through him, though, I was able to get a couple different stories from people that he works with. And he works in the natural gas fields and stuff. And so this guy, he worked with him temporarily, and then he worked in the oil fields of Kuwait. And this guy's from Uzbekistan. And it involves a couple of different people. So let me make sure here. But his name is Oybek. And it was him and his friend. Oh, messed up my notes here. And his friend Javlon. So Javlon and Oybek, and they worked for a large oil company, and they ended up in Kuwait. And this was back in the 80s, and he's about 10 years older than me now, the guy, but he was a young man. When he went to go work in the oil fields, like when this happened, I was like 10 years old. He was 20. He's like 1 year old. He's literally a year and like 14 days older than me. Oh, wait, that's not right.
Wait.
A year. I'm sorry. He's 10 years and 40, or I got to go look. He's a little over 10 years older than me.
Oh.
And his friend was 2 years younger than him. It was his brother's best friend. But they were from Uzbekistan, and they were working in the oil fields.
Hard work.
Oh, look at this. Somebody says here, Oybek was the name of one of our interpreters. Yeah. Well, that's a common name in that area. You know, like that's a common name. Not gonna lie, when I first started talking to him, like I don't know a whole lot about Uzbekistan. I do know a lot about the stands, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. As a whole, you know, I know about him, but I didn't know a lot about him. But I had done the show where we talked about the Caspian Sea. And I believe he was Uzbeki. And so we talked about it, and we were going over it. And so that's interesting that Oybek reached out, you know, because when my friend told me, he's like, you know, this guy's, he's going to reach out to you. I'll do his voice. He's like, he's going to reach out to you, brother. Don't worry. He's going to call you.
He'll give you a call. I never give him my
There's
number.
always a long pause, and I'm like, yeah. Yes, he's going to call you. Okay, I go now. He always says that. He'll say goodbye. Okay, I go now. And he'll message me and on Facebook or whatever. But he's a pretty cool dude. I like him. He's it's sad what's happening to his country right now. In his words, though, I'll be honest, like he is not a fan of the leadership in Ukraine. He does not a fan of his country being invaded, but he can understand some of the things that are going on because it's not as simple as black and white. And he left to avoid being conscripted into the war because he doesn't agree with the leadership. And if you really did your homework, you would understand why. So he went to go work overseas, and now this other guy, Oybek, he gets me in touch with him. I was expecting to have to like hunt this guy down and trying to reach, across the ocean and whatever. No, he He tracked me. Apparently, what happened to Oibek was very sinister. Like so him and his wife, they're the same age. They got married when they were 17 years old, and they lived in pretty much abject poverty. But Oibek's dad, who he did not have a lot of, like, he did not know him. When he was 14, he just showed up and he's like, "I'm your dad." And Oibek's mother was dying. And so this guy introduced him to another world. And he says, "Look, I'm going to help you." He worked in the oil fields, oil industry. And from that point on, he goes, "I was like my dad's apprentice. I didn't know this guy, but he's like, I didn't know you existed till you were like 8. And your mother's family, who was kind of dangerous, didn't want me around." And Oibek said, "That's correct." And he always had these like dreams of who his dad was. So funny thing is, somebody told him his dad lived in America and was a cowboy.
Really?
Yeah. So we were just talking. So I thought that was kind of funny because I was talking about my friend Joey that wanted to be a cowboy.
Synchronicity.
He did. He worked on the ranch, and he's working up in Wyoming. But here's the funny thing: when this whole thing went down, he was overseas working in Kuwait. And in the 1980s, there were these oil fields that were they were pumping oil. It's a very wealthy country because of the oil. And everybody probably knows Kuwait because it got invaded by Iraq. Big mistake on Saddam's part. So then he goes in and he knocks over their military pretty easily because he had a very large military. And then the United States says, "No way." But these encounters happened in and around a city called Al-Amadi. So if you don't know what that is, I believe, and don't quote me on this because I don't have the notes, I think it's the second largest city in Kuwait. Look it up. I'm not 100%. I think Kuwait City is the largest for sure. And it's part of the what they call the Bergen fields, the Bergen oil fields, and greater Bergen oil fields. Maybe it is.
So Kuwait City is the largest city, and then Al-Amadi is the
Al-Amadi is
largest,
number 2. Okay. Okay, so Al-Amadi is the largest city. So what happened was he got a job through his dad, who told him, "Hey, there's a position there." What these people would do is they would come in and they would work in the oil fields, and they hire a lot of like foreign people to do it, and then you could bring your wife and your family, and they will let you live in like kind of an international little community outside of the oil fields. So him and his wife, who they had, like I said, they had been married for 3 years when he went out there. He was a young man when this happened. And you don't really know what to expect. He's like, "I'd never been to a place like that, And so, he goes and it's kind of like culture shock, The country he's from is not like impoverished, but there's like rich people and poor people. It's like really no middle class.
Yeah.
And Kuwait, there is no lower class. It's like middle class and rich people like that. They're very wealthy people. So he was telling me like that was some of the things that were different for him. So anyways, so him and his wife, and her name is Oiden.
So Oibek
and Oiden. So Oiden, though, is the woman, and Oibek is so we got to call her something else so that we don't confuse what to call her.
I don't know how to like truncate that.
Call her Dan.
Morph it.
Call her Dan and call him Beck. 2 turntables and a microphone. No, it's so Oiden and Oibek. Just remember B for boy. Oibek. Right?
Call them Oi and Oi.
Oi. So it is kind of unusual that they, and those are pretty common names, I guess, apparently over there. But so here's what happened. He reaches out to me and he tells me, he says, "I got a story for you." He goes, and I told our mutual friend there who wants to remain anonymous, whatever, fine, probably because he's the he avoided the conscription of Ukraine. But according to him, he can't go back. But anyway, Oibek tells me, he says this was years ago in the mid 1980s. He got out there in 85 and he was there in 86. He left before the invasion happened. I believe, what year was the invasion, the Iraqi invasion? I don't even know exactly. It'd be a question for Abe Cias.
Abe can't wait to tell you.
Well, you know, it's funny because they act like it was just some shocking thing that they
1990.
did. 1990,
Yeah.
right? I was going to say 89 for some reason. I don't know why. But they act like it was some kind of like, you know, shocking thing that happened. And that's weird. I remember it being in the 80s. I thought I was like 14 when it happened. That's a weird thing. That's weird. Anyways, he left before the invasion, you know, and he was there for like almost 3 years, he said. The first year he was there, it was just, and then he would go back home and then go back, and he would go back home and come back. But he stayed for almost 2 solid years, like a year and 10 months. So he was there for, you know, the whole time. He left like in 87.
Yeah, Marines Call Me Doc says Desert Shield was 90 and Storm was 91.
Yeah, 91, yeah. So when he was in Kuwait, Al Amadi, in the oil fields out there, then Doc probably be familiar with this. One of the things that was weird was he said that there were people that lived in absolute fear of these beings, and they had this weird name for it, and he couldn't even tell me what it was. He can't remember what they called it, but it was not, people were telling him what he encountered wasn't that. Okay. So it's not really important what it was. He had a couple different things happen. This is weird. Okay, so the Arabs there, and not all Arabs are the same. They're all very different, really. You know, and they don't even, Arabic is not even just one fluid language. It's multiple dialects. If you're speaking Arabic in the Mesopotamian area, which would be Iraq and all that, you're not going to have the same Arabic as in like southern Lebanon or Syria. It's different. They have different dialects. They're just not the same. And so because of the tribal boundaries, right? And so when he was there was this creature, he said it started with an S. And I was thinking Saloea, which is like the werewolf, but he didn't. He said, no, there was another name for that. They had something like that there too. And apparently these things would burrow into the ground.
Oh.
Yeah. Because of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would come out at night and they would attack people in the oil fields. Think of like what we were talking about, the creature from the hyena men, you know, from Africa.
Mm-hmm. The Bultunjan.
Yeah, the Bultunjan. They'll come out and they attack these workers who are working in these desolate areas at night. And they're just like, I'm just here. And then next thing you know, there were workers that would go missing. And we still haven't finished talking about that. We still got to talk about, I believe his name was Akeem, his story from the Bultunjan, you know, what happened to him near Lake Chad, because there were workers who went missing out there. And then there was another story from Mozambique, the Ziraquois. I think I'm saying it correctly. I don't know. That's a tribal name too. Like that southern, eastern, or southern, south, I think it was either southwestern or southeastern area of Zimbabwe, which is, you know, Rhodesia.
Mm-hmm.
They had these names for these creatures too. The Zulu named them that. And so that Ziriquois, whatever it's called, from Mozambique, you know, those creatures, they look like a skinny, emaciated hyena that stands on his hind legs and runs around, and they bite people's heads off. You think about it, you know, because a hyena, like, it's got the strongest bite force of any mammal.
Yeah.
It's not even the biggest. Their bite force absolutely shatters a lion.
That's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, lions are like, I mean, I was watching a video one time when I was young, and there was this hyena who latched onto the rump of this lion while it was trying to fight these others, and it was just not letting go. And that lion could not get it loose. Kicked it with its back leg, and they're just like nature's worst
Vice
version of a
grips.
pit bull.
Yeah.
And they are brutal. But that is why I think, like if you were comparing, somebody was asking me, what do you think head to head, a Bultungan and a dog man? I said, shit, man, the Bultungan it's a hyena.
Yeah.
It's like a hyena-like creature. But then we have these here in North America, here in Texas. Like I said before, east and west. You have these. There's really none around here. I haven't got hardly any reports of hyena people around here. But you get them from East Texas and West Texas, two different sides of the state. I don't know why. But I think it's the remnants of the cave hyena, which, in talking to my good friend Ken Gerhardt about this, who's really into cryptozoology, but of course he's also into, prehistoric, whatever. You're looking at a creature that could be like this because that particular hyena, it just looks like a hyena, but it's not technically a hyena. It had the shape of one, but it's actually a canid. So that's weird. So the one that would be here, if it's a remnant relic population, what are we dealing with? I mean, that's not But tonight's episode, we're talking. So we got all this stuff going on, right? It's a work in progress all the time. But tonight's episode, we're going to talk about, this guy's encounter, Oybeck. And we'll just call, we'll call him Beck.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll call his wife Oyden. So
Okay.
Beck, and that's not, he doesn't go by that. He goes by Oybeck. I jokingly was like, I said, oh, like Beck, like the music. And he was like,
my name is Betty.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to get her.
He had no response
anything
to
out of
that.
that.
I was like, you don't know who that is? He goes, no. He's like, he doesn't joke a lot. Let's put it that way. I'm very jokey and talking, whatever. He's a cool guy, very nice, very, matter of fact guy. But the joke's kind of like, whoa, okay. But he's from another place, and he's, and since then he's lived a hard life. He's had some stuff happen to him. He got way more involved in this than he wanted to be. So the housing that they give them at that time in the 80s, back at Alamati, that it's like, they just take you, they drive you over there, and the boss, the superintendent, whatever, they bring you there and they say, you're going to live here. And they give you the keys, and then it's all furnished. Everything's really nice, and he got paid very well. He said he made more in 1 year at Kuwait than he could make in 10 years in Uzbekistan.
Jeez.
So Uzbekistan, sorry, man, you got to go where the money's at. He got along good with everybody. He's Islamic, and they're Islamic, so I mean, they get along. But he was told that there were a lot of jinn that inhabit that area of the Bergen fields. And at night, they would see these green, we've heard this before, green balls of light that would roll. They weren't floating, they would roll on the ground. And then they would stop, and then they would like open up, like kind of explode in a way. And then something would pop out of them. Sometimes they looked like upright werewolf-looking creatures, and not hyenas. He didn't describe that. And sometimes they looked like gargoyles. He personally only saw one of these in the 3 years he was there. He did go back right before it got invaded, like in 88, 89, like in December of 88, 89. And he went back, and he was there for a couple months to train some people. Then he came back, and they just put him up in a hotel. But he said after that, he knew that they were going to be invaded, because he's like, dude, that's something interesting too. A lot of people don't realize that like they think that, oh, there's, it was all like, oh, he just shockingly invaded. No, he amassed an army right there on the border, and the Kuwaiti officials were telling everybody, hey, they're going to invade us. Something's going to happen. And America's like, no, we're all good. It's not going to happen, because they really wanted them to.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think it was kind of dirty, because I think Bush told them, go ahead, we're not going to do anything. And then they did. It was a trap. I believe Saddam was the trap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trap.
I really do. But heck, man, look, so what's he saying? Green balls of light were freaky as hell. We saw gargoyles. Oh, wow. Huh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they built their forces up in 89, but they didn't invade till 90. That's what people they have this misconception that. But who told Saddam to do that? Said he could do that. He kept saying till the day he died that the Bush administration told him he could do that.
Yeah. Set him up.
They set him up. But what do you expect? I mean, there's somebody's big rival there. So they had to go. But here's the thing. The Kuwaiti people, they're not militaristic, and most of their, military is just, the United States has a heavy presence there and always has because of all the oil there. And so, and they're not the only one. Britain too, British Petroleum has been there for a long time. I do too. Yeah. Doc, once again, he says Hussein was baited into invasion. Yeah, I do too. I believe it was. So here's what happened. He goes there and he takes his wife Oyden. Beck goes there and he's living there on the base. The first thing that happens, like he said, the second day he was there, he got there in the early spring, like in early March, and he said, "Dude, it was the second day he was there. A woman's baby goes missing." And his wife Oyden, she was working for another family, a very wealthy family in Kuwait. And these Kuwaiti people, what they usually do is you bring your wife. She can either just sit on the base, or not the base. It's like a compound. You can sit on the compound and just live and be, a housewife, or she can make a lot of money by going to work for one of the many wealthy families there in Kuwait. So most of these people that would come from overseas, they would literally go there and they would work in the fields, in the oil fields, making a ton of money. And then their wife would go and make a lot of money being like a maid, and his wife was basically a housekeeper, which is what he called her. But some of these housekeepers could get like jobs to where they oversaw like 3 or 4 different households. And that's what his wife did. She ran like 3 or 4 different one of these communities or whatever. She was like up there. And so in 2 years, she worked her way up, and she was very, very hardworking. And of course, he said, he goes, we made enough money that we lived for like 10 years, on that money from 1 year. He said, we could live for 10 years in Uzbekistan. And he says, even to this day, he goes, I still have money, because he's very frugal. He grew up frugal. He was poor. But he says, we still have money, because I took the money we had. And I said, what'd you do with it? He said, we invested. And he did well. He's done well for himself. And he's living very well because, the things are cheap where he's at. But he was talking about this incident that happened. This woman that his wife was working for, the second day she was there, the household that she ultimately ended up helping take care of, one of them, which was next door to where she was working, a 2-year-old a 2-month-old went missing, just gone. And the authorities, they come and they freak out. The people are freaking out. There's like, where's this child? They look everywhere, whatever. They don't report this in the paper because, they want to look like, and they're sophisticated and they're westernized, right? But everybody in that area was talking about this. And they had a name for this creature that they think that took this baby. And it is not something that I can pronounce. I'm not going to try. Starts with a T. I was like, I don't, whatever. Or an N. Starts with an N. But we talked about this, us three, and we did some research on this.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about what our conclusion is after we get this story out there. Me, for my money, I think that this is something that happens quite regularly. And I don't think people really take it seriously. They don't take the vampire phenomenon seriously. I don't think they realize that the majority of these, this class of jinn / demon, whatever, that they're vampiric, that they drain your energy, but they also drink blood. That's one of the things that they do. And that is how they are able to get in on a lot of these people, because I believe they take their blood and then they become anemic and they don't realize they're being drained. I think Dracula got it right. I really do. When he's going after Lucy and Lucy is like getting sicker and eventually she dies.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's happening. I think it's happening a lot more than people realize. Think of Ornius or Ornias, whatever you want to call him, from the story of Solomon. It's a weird thing, man. So his wife comes home and she's kind of freaked out or whatever. They have legends of these vampires too, but nobody could have dreamed that it was a supernatural thing that was happening or that was going to happen. About 3 months later, another child disappears, a baby. This one was a 6-month-old, right? At the same time that this was happening, there were 2 other women who ended up, one of them passed away in childbirth in that same area, right? And another one had a baby that was stillborn. And these people started to talk, and this is in the middle of Mesopotamia. This is ancient Samaria modernized, right? Mm-hmm. So they started to talk about, what it could be. And the whispers were, well, this creature that they thought, hey, could be what it is, because this thing attacks mothers and it attacks babies and it takes babies. Now, although they may call it something else now, it could be, and we'll talk about it, and then we're going to go down the rabbit hole. It's going to be good. When Beck went to one of these people's houses for a dinner, like they invited them over for the dinner because he was a good worker, and 6 months later, he was doing good. He was moving up. A really smart guy. Talking to this guy, he's very intelligent. So he gets invited to one of these big dinners, and these people have this big, like, palatial estate. It's not something we can fathom. It's like 12 bedrooms type thing, right?
Unreal.
It's unreal. The oil money is just unreal. So he says, we're living in a nice place. And we got 4 bedrooms. It's like, 3,800 square foot house, He's like, these people are living like 8,000, 9,000 square foot houses,
yes.
And that's like the lower rich people. Some of the people out there, you don't see their house. It's just like, they have like a golf course out there. And so he goes, I go to this dinner party, and he's like, and the one of the women's was there. Her sister had lost her child. So there were 2 of them that had lost children. One of them was the sister of one of the people, and they were talking about it. And she was talking about how her sister was grieving. The first woman ended up supposedly just after months of just being really weak and not eating, she passed away. Which there again, what's going on? And Oibek said that he volunteered with his boss, because this was his boss's boss, the house, whatever, to go out there and do a little investigating with them, because they wanted to know if there was something supernatural about this. Now, they don't talk about this, like I said, out in public, but behind closed doors. He said they gave me like these Cuban cigars, and we're, and he goes, and they tell me, he goes, there's 8 of us. We're going to go out to this place and do an investigation. And so he went with them. And he goes, 3 guys. We're barely able to speak a common language, And then these 4 Kuwaitis. He's like, and we go out there, and it's this little, like a person living in like a little shack, like a Bedouin, basically, what they were. Mm-hmm. And they're not a whole lot of them there anymore. But at that time, this guy, and he was blind, but he could see, like with the eye, like, like we would call ojo dotado, right? So they go out there and they interview this guy, and they talk to him, and he tells them what they're dealing with. And he says, you will all see this creature. He's like, and so he puts ash on their face. And get this. He goes, Beck told me, he says, he takes his dirty finger, because this man takes his dirty finger, puts ash in my mouth. I was like, I was very angry. Then I find out it's bones. Jackal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit more mad about the finger.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, like, oh, okay. So you stick your finger with the ashes, ground up ashes of a jackal in my mouth. Okay. But Bex, I said, did it work? He goes, yes, it did. It did. He goes, we were driving back to Alamati, which was about he said it was like a 2-hour drive. It was like, I don't know how far, but it took 2 hours. We're driving fast down these desert roads. He says, I wake up, and it's about 9 o'clock at night. And he's like, and it's the wintertime, right? But he looks, I look up in the sky and I see this thing flying. He's like, dude, I have never done drugs. He goes, but I felt high. The way people describe being high, he goes, I've been drunk. He goes, and one time in the fields, I smoked something that was hashish, right?
Yeah.
And he said, dude, I did never want to feel that way again. But he goes, I felt like I was both.
Jeez.
He says, I look up and I see this creature flying in the air, right? It turns and looks at me. He's got red eyes, bugged out red eyes, and there was this green mist around it. And he's like, I had never seen anything like that in my life. He said, I didn't want to see it again. He goes, and I'm like, I'm rubbing my eyes and I'm looking back up at it. He's like, and it's still there. And then it just takes off. He's like, it's like a movie. He said it was weird. He goes, there was the moon. You could see it fly across the moon. Like you could see it. And he goes, there was another guy. He was leaned in. He was looking at it. He's like, dude, this guy was leaned all over me with his robes and everything, And he goes, and he's leaned in. He's like, did you see it? Did you see it? And he said, yeah. I said, he goes, this is jinn. This is jinn. And so there is a type of jinn that is that kind of flying jinn where you can look it up. We've talked about it on the show. And he said that's what that was. He said, I knew that just instinctively. He goes, I don't know how I knew this. He goes, but whatever that guy gave me, and his name was Amar. He said, Amar, the seer, whatever he was, not my words, not his, but he said that guy did something. He gave me something. And he goes, and it was like a weird mix of what he was doing of like Christianity, paganism, and Islam. That's the only way he could describe it. And this guy told him, he says, you'll be fine. You're going to see these things. He said, this guy's blind. He goes, his eyes are just cloudy, glazed over. And he said that this guy that was in the back seat of this car, and they were in a limo, right? And he says, you could see it. He saw it too. He's like, and we're armed, whatever. He goes, but then there was another one on the other side of the vehicle. And then the driver in the front was like, still another one. They could see these things flying around. He goes, they weren't really big. They looked like skinny insectoid gargoyle looking things.
Ugh.
He says, and then he goes, as we're driving, he goes, I thought I was like tripping, like he goes, he didn't say tripping, but he thought he was on something, like hallucinogenic. He said there was this creature running alongside the vehicle, and then it veered off, and then there was another one, and he was like, what in the hell is going on?
What did those look like? Did he say?
Yeah, he described those as like it sounded kind of like a chupacabra the way he described it. Like they had these well, he kept calling them hair. I don't want to put words in his mouth like what he didn't say spines, because I asked him. I said, did they have spines on their back? Because he said the hair was sticking straight up.
Uh-huh.
And he said, yeah, hair, like hair. And I said, well, there's a spine. Did it look like a spine? And I don't think he really understood what I was saying.
Yeah, the language barrier.
Yeah. So, I don't want to say that he did, because he didn't really say that. He said it was like hair. That it was hair, but like pointy, and it was sharp. But they were running alongside the vehicle, but it was very quick, and it was like just real like quick. He was seeing these different things, and the people that were with him were seeing it too, and they were freaking out. So the point of this, though, was so that when the next person, which that guy Amar told him, is this going to be you? He points at one of these guys, one of these Kuwaitis, and says, your family is next. Your wife is expecting. He said, and this thing comes for the unborn and the newborn. And so the guy that he pointed at, his name was Muhammad. That's a very common name there. But Muhammad was like, it's going to be me, my wife. He says, yes. He says, what you need to have is 7 men around you at all times. He says, okay, I got bodyguards. He goes, no. It has to be these guys.
Huh.
And so he goes, my job went from, I'm going to go out there and work out in the oil field, into I'm bodyguarding this guy. He goes, I was in the military. I had been trained from the time I was 18 to 20. It's like mandatory, whatever. So he'd been trained. He's like, I'm limited. I know how to shoot a gun. And he's like, I was not there for this. Another thing Amar told him, he says, your wife will become pregnant soon. And he was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, and then it's your turn. He's like, this thing wants what you have. This thing showed up to do whatever it was doing, and I'll explain to you why I think that it showed up there in particular at that time. But before we do that, a word from our sponsor. I'm joking. Yeah. No, seriously. So what ends up happening, this guy Amar, this blind man who could see, but he couldn't see physically, he said that this creepy guy, his words, he's a very creepy man. He's like, I would not be alone with this guy. You know, bones everywhere. He's like Yoda. You know, that's my words. But he goes, I am there. I'm stunned at the revelation of this man. This is his words. He said, it was crazy what he's telling me. And now I have to sit in this guy's mansion every day at night, work overnight. He goes, I was working overnight anyway. I'm used to that. He's like, but we had to all stay together. And there were two of these guys that were arguing. He didn't know what they were saying. They were screaming at each other in Arabic. He's like, absolutely not. They were not going to stay there. They have their own houses, their own lives, whatever. One of them capitulated. So there were 6 people that were there around the house watching this, along with this guy's security. He had his own security. But the guy who would not help, after 2 nights, he shows up. He was the first one to see this thing. He has a 2-year-old, right? Tells this wild story. He says, I'm out on my balcony and I'm talking on the phone. And he goes, I see this creature that can only be described as a white, y'all have heard of this, on all fours crawling. It went over my fence and came down like a lizard with a white tail. And then it ran and it went into my fountain. And then it came back out. And when it did, it looked different. It had fur and it was gray and it looked like a wolf. Then when it gets across the yard, it stands up on its hind legs and runs into his garage. And I don't say garage, he has like a hangar type garage.
Yeah.
So he calls his security detail and says, hey, man, we got an intruder.
Got something on the property.
So when he tells these people, they're like, a couple of them are just looking at him like, and a couple of them are like, oh, it's a Shen, you know, and then a couple that didn't think, they were just looking at them like, okay. Because not everybody believes it. A lot of people are secular there, you know.
It's like, well, dude, just find something that's not human and shoot it.
And he told them, well, that's what he told them. Basically, go look. And they looked underneath the vehicles. They looked everywhere. It was on camera, but it disappeared. So when he tells this wild story to Oybek, kind of like, what am I getting into? They all kind of agreed that whatever that they were given had some kind of hallucinogenic effect that made them see this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't escape the fact that they all saw the same thing. And I told Beck, I said, you saw the same thing that your friends saw. How can you sit there and go, well, you know, we were all hallucinating, you know, because I've hallucinated. I'm you know, I didn't have the same, except one time when I was with the Utes, you know, we saw the same thing. Otherwise, you're not really going to see the same thing. Typically. So I don't know. And I don't know if that's hallucinating or maybe you're just opening up a doorway, you know, I don't know the 100%, but I know a lot of people who've lived in haunted houses and been in places that were haunted. And when they take something, they'll start seeing spirits and you'll be like, oh, well, because they're on drugs. One in particular is a story I'm going to have to be telling soon. There was somebody from the Manger Hotel that decided that they would go to the Manger Hotel and mix 2 hallucinogens and they saw something. What's crazy is that they saw what was being reported by other people in detail. And this person had not read anything, any of this, whatever. So they kind of did an experiment. And so this guy, he went and he's like, I saw what everybody claims to see. I know this, that it can be a doorway, a gateway, and I wouldn't suggest going out and taking hallucinogens. They can raise your blood pressure. They can do all kinds of things to you. You don't want to do it if you're not in good health. So I'd say you know, if you're a young person and you want to do whatever, you do what you want to do. But I discourage people from taking any kind of illegal anything. People do, though. They eat mushrooms and they're going to do what they're going to do. Psilocybin, you know, Amanita muscaria. There's all kinds of different stuff that people take. You have these people who are going to do what they're going to do. And there is a native cultural, like peyote. All right. That's what I did. I've done it, you know, other stuff, but I did the peyote with my friend who was Ute and his family and some friends. This particular situation, though, I don't believe it was hallucinogenic. I think he opened up something spiritual in this dude. Because when this guy began to describe it to him, he says, okay, well, my shift is over. So I'm going to go home. And they told him, no, you have to stay here. Because only if you're all together can they prevent whatever was going to happen to this guy, Muhammad, who was his boss's boss. And Muhammad was like, can you please stay? I'll pay you triple whatever to stay. He's like, okay. He's like, I was making money hand over fist. I just said, you know what? Fine. So he goes in the next room. He goes to sleep. About 1 a.m, this was at 10 o'clock at night when the guy came over and told him about the weird creature, right? And he goes, immediately my head hits the pillow. He goes, I'm out like a light. I start dreaming, and he does tell me this. He says, dreaming. And I said, are you dreaming? Or was this something that could have been not a dream, you know?
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, very possible.
But he left his body.
Yeah. And so he goes, I was wandering out into the open field behind the house. They have grass there. Like it's artificially not, but I mean, it's grass, real grass, but they make it, you know, and they kind of make like a paradise in the desert, you know. And he says, and so I'm out there and I'm walking out into this field. He goes, and I see this creature land on a tree branch. There's like this big old tree. Looks like it's been there for 1,000 years. And it lands on the tree and it's sitting there. He goes, and this is what's so striking about this creature. He goes, the first thing I noticed, it had wings, bat-like, gargoyle-like wings. His words, the feet on this creature were hands. So where the feet would have been, he goes, there were hands. There were these clawed hands. And he goes, and I'm looking at this thing. Remember, this could be a dream. Maybe, maybe not. Beck's like, I'm looking at this thing, and it looks like some sort of bird-like entity. In the face, he said it looked like a man with a beak nose. Not like a bird beak, but like a big, you know.
Oh, like a big
but
pointy nose.
It was pointy in a way that humans don't have a nose like that. It was almost like it was triangular. Well, it was triangular. And it had this weird mouth, and the mouth was full of these needle-like teeth. And I didn't even say that, but that's what he described to me. So he says, have you ever seen like a fish? He was describing a piranha. He couldn't think of the name. And I said, like a piranha. So I sent him a picture of one. He said, that right there. Yes. Teeth were small and jagged. Where your incisors were a little bit longer. Not just big old saber-tooth teeth, but they were longer. And he said that this thing could definitely puncture something and, you know, like a vampire. And he said, I'm looking at this creature and it looked like a male. He goes, but then I noticed it had breasts. And I looked at it and I was like, this is a woman. But it had hair on it like a dude. Very gross, disgusting creature. So he goes back into the house. You know, he's just like, I just go backwards. And I'm back into the room and I'm looking and I still see the silhouette of this thing in the tree. He goes, and then get this. He goes back to sleep. He wakes back up and he's awake. He goes, and it's like 3 a.m. He's like, and I go to the window to look. And where this old rotting tree was, there was no tree there. So made him think, well, there's not a tree there. And, you know, and the landscape looks different than what I was dreaming. So it's probably a dream. So he chalked it up to, you know what? I was just having a dream. This isn't real. And he's like, and then I hear one of these guys outside screaming and yelling over the radio. And then I hear gunshots. And I run out there. He goes, I'm still not really accustomed to carrying around a machine gun. It's not my job. He's like, so I run out without a gun just to see what was going on. And they're pointing like, grab your weapon, grab your weapon. So he goes, I go and I grab my weapon, hoping that I'm not going to have to actually use it. I go back outside. He goes, and I see what looks like this creature that I had seen in this dream flying over this treetop. There are these trees that they had like around this, you know, driveway. And in the middle, there's like this fountain with blue water. And he said that this thing flew over the top and it was holding something. He couldn't tell what it was. A day later, this guy that owned this place, he had several greyhounds. He raced them. This thing, the kennels were open and the greyhounds were running around loose. He had like 20-something greyhounds. One of them was missing. So what this thing was carrying more than likely was one of those dogs. He said that they sent like 20, 30 people out to look for this animal, who apparently was like his oldest and his most prized greyhound, who had sired all these other dogs. And they found it in the middle of nowhere, exsanguinated, about 22 kilometers from the house.
Jeez.
Very weird, very odd. He goes, and Muhammad was beside himself, but just tore up by this. And he says, we are facing something evil. So they had this big meeting, and he says, we're going to go back out there and talk to the old man. That's the guy, that the seer, whatever. And we're going to get, So they go back out there. He doesn't. Webek stays there at the house. Tells his wife, take care. I'll be here. They come back. They can't get any word out of this guy. This guy doesn't tell them jack. He just says, I told you what I could tell you. That's it. And he says, and I know that tonight I'll be visited. He's like, this thing doesn't appreciate my work. 2 days later, some people because this guy got visits like from people all the time. This was his, he was a shaman. They called Muhammad's people and told him Amar's dead. He's gone. Something got him. They estimated by the way the body looked that there was no blood in this man and that he had been dead for at least 2 days. So that would have made sense. He said that he was going to be visited. And he was. By something. In the dirt around this guy's little hovel where he lived were human handprints. Elongated human handprints with nails, claws. Now, do you remember when Oybek says, hey, I saw this thing up in a tree and it had human hands for feet? Do the math. This is where he goes, I was already believing. He goes, but now I double believe. This is what he told me. He goes, I double believe. Now I am scared. He goes, I am terrified. This thing has come to kill everybody. What is this thing? And he did not call it a vampire, and nobody was calling it that. But the fact that everybody that they were finding, there was blood missing, all right? Another thing that was so interesting about this was that not only did this creature, was it exsanguinating people, animals, whatever, but that babies were going missing. And that wasn't the last one. The last one ended up happening. It wasn't Muhammad, thank goodness. He said, we stayed fast. We just, we stayed, we fasted, we prayed. He goes, we were always praying, we had clerics come. We had a Christian priest come. I mean, there was everybody was like, there was a couple of guys that were Christian.
Pulled out all the stops.
Yeah, everybody was like, we're not taking any chances.
Yeah.
Everybody said the same thing. You're facing something that's evil, completely evil. And in fact, I wore my
Saint Benedict
today because I don't know. I just had a little weird feeling. I was like, maybe tempting fate. I don't know, but we're gonna talk about this.
I keep the little small amulets in my wallet at all times.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought today it'd be maybe it's a day to wear it. So you're having this weird, and I'll be real honest with you folks. Like I was doing research on it last night and I went to sleep during the research. I had a weird dream. And I'll tell you about that later. But anyways, I woke up thinking, okay, when you get like you say, you're right over the target, you get the flak.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder about that. But this creature, whatever it was, disappeared. Like as quickly as it came, it vanished. So he stayed there at the house. The baby was born. Everything was fine. He had a 2-year-old. They were worried about the 2-year-old. His wife was pregnant. And so then when she had the baby, they stayed there for another like 2 or 3 weeks. And then he hired his security people to be around the mom and the baby all the time. Nothing happened to the baby. His wife, however, became very ill And for some reason, in the middle of the night, around 3 o'clock in the morning, no matter what guard he put there in the house to watch his wife, they always fell asleep. And eventually his wife became very ill. She was on her deathbed. And she couldn't remember anything. She had no memory of what was going on. Right before she was about to die, she told him, I remember everything. And so for like 2 hours, she went into great detail about this creature, this female thing that came and would bite her on her feet and under her arms and places where they didn't see. And so the doctor looked at her and said that she does have puncture marks, small puncture marks on her. And some of the marks on her back, on her buttocks, were like she was bitten with these small teeth-looking things, like jaggedy little teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And what's weird is when they inspected her before, she didn't have that. But when her memory came back, all of this stuff showed up.
That is weird.
Yeah. So Oibek tells me, he says, I know 100% when he talks. This is vampire. Now I know 100%. He says, and my wife tell me, we're driving to the store. You know, they have like these Americanized stores to go to. He says, we're going to get the groceries and whatever. And she says, I see something. What she saw was the third week that he was involved in this thing walking upside down, is what she called it.
What?
Walking upside down, going up the stairs. The weird thing about this was she said the head was where the buttocks should have been. And the legs, of course, you know, were like hands. It's weird.
Yeah.
So she sees this thing going up, but it's like kind of like a slinky going in reverse, flipping end over end. She sees this. Then she wakes up and she's just like profusely sweating, whatever. They have a security person that's in that area. So she calls him. He shows up. He's a real good guy. And this guy swore up and down that he had already fielded 3 reports in that community, right on the outskirts of Alamati, that this thing had been seen doing something very similar. One person saw it sitting inside of their house when they drove up, and they saw the back of what looked like a person with hair. And then but it was weird. The hair was like, they thought it was the back. And then they realized that they were looking at breasts. So it was like the head was turned around. And then they see the head swivel around and they see the beak nose or whatever. And this thing runs up to the window. And then the kids are screaming and freaking out. The woman, well, obviously, she's scared to death. She's from Turkey, and she gets in her car and she pulls out. And she has a name for this thing too, you know. Here's the thing. They all have a different name for this creature. The one that equated was like the Nanatanwa or something. I know that's not correct. It's something like that. But anyway, I'm going to tell you what I think it was. The Lilitu. Now you may know, oh, that sounds familiar. At least the first part of that does. You know it probably as Lilith. But for those of you who don't really know, I'm going to tell you, the Lilitu is the precursor to Lilith. How many of you in the chat know what the Lilitu is?
Where it comes from.
Or where it comes from?
Let's see.
No Googling it.
No goggles.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to spell it for you.
We got a smart audience, though. No, not Lilith.
Oh,
Samaria. Look at
Yep.
that. Look at the
State of
big brain
affairs.
on. there you go. Linda
Linda
Webb.
Webb,
Linda,
too.
did you cheat?
Linda cheated. I
Don't
think.
cheat, Linda. Linda, listen. Linda, listen.
Linda cheated off
Listen,
of
Linda.
State of Affairs.
Don't be cheating. Yeah, first wife to Adam, right? Okay. Well, here's the thing. How many years does Samaria predate Judaism or
Not Lilith.
the country
guys.
of Israel? A long time. Some estimates are as much as 2,000. Some people say 1,000. Some people say 400. There's all these different. Suffice it to say that Samaria was around because Abraham, where was he from?
He was a Sumerian.
They're going to say right? Yeah, in Samaria. He was a Sumerian. Here's the thing that that everybody looks at as the Kabbalah, right? And how long ago? You guys looked it up.
Yeah, so it was written over time, but like the earliest it goes back is like the 6th, 7th centuries. But I think the bulk of it was compiled between the 12th and 13th centuries. But it's so the Kabbalah is a lot younger than this Lilith creature. So it definitely, like the whole concept of Lilith, I think definitely came after the Sumerian being that they knew of as Lilith.
Lila too, I think.
One of the estimates, is pretty, and some of the higher estimates are 5,000 years. But I would say to me, I think it's probably 2,500 to 3,000 years. So you're talking about an ancient civilization who had a working knowledge of all of this stuff. And all of these other cultures that came after that, the Babylonians, I mean, very much all of them, the Akkadians, all of them. Judea, which was remnants of Israel. All of those different cultures, they all got their information from Samaria. And so they called it the Lilitu. Now, there was another name for it. Do you know what it was?
Lamashtu.
Lamashtu. Do you know who Lamashtu was?
It was the daughter of. They said it was like the daughter of, like a demon or something like that.
Well, it was like a lion-headed, like a. I mean, if we were to visualize it, it'd be like a female, like humanoid, but with a lion's head.
It was specifically, it said a lion's head and then donkey teeth, which I always thought was very weird.
Yeah, like
but here's the thing. So I'll tell you, Lamashtu is a female demoness or demon goddess, whatever you want to call it, of Sumerian lore. Well, Mesopotamian, which Mesopotamia is the area. Mm-hmm. Samaria is in the area. And so, yeah, notorious for attacking women and children and pregnant females, causing miscarriages, doing all kinds of stuff, basically doing what this thing was doing. This thing here, if you think about it, the body with the hair and all of that, and it had a weird tail.
Mm-hmm.
It had like a little poof on the end of it that looks kind of like a lion, has wings, and then people saw it running around on all fours. Beak, nose. It sounds like a griffin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there going like, well, I don't know. Could it be the legendary griffin walking around on two legs? And could that be what Lamashtu was a griffin? Now, was the griffin Lamashtu or was Lamashtu the griffin? That is the question. Now you go, Medusa, right? What was Medusa?
Gorgon.
She was a Gorgon. But what was a Gorgon? It was a race of beings with snake-like tails.
Just weird, dude.
One of the stories we got from Oman, which is weird. This is we're going to get into that one day, not tonight, but it's a flying creature with a tail like a snake. And it's weird because there is a devil, demon, whatever, called Ammon. And that creature is from Levantian lore. And of course, it looks like a wolf head with like a snake-like body, and sometimes it has wings like a bat. Very weird. And sometimes it'll have breasts, These things could be all the same race, whatever. And so when they describe Lamashtu as being like a lion head, could it be like this is just one description of this creature? Because I know from interviewing people, I've talked to recently. This happened recently. We were talking about the guy from Arkansas. And we were, us three. And you remember when he was talking about his description of the Bigfoot he saw, then you talk to his son and his nephew, what they saw looked completely different. Not completely, but it was like even the hair color was different.
Mm-hmm.
And they saw this on the same hunting trip. So it's the Mildred family. I mean, that's what we'll just call them that. That's what they are. But and they weren't hiding or anything like that. They were just like, you know, this is who we are, and we're just simple people, and we saw this in the Ozarks. And you know, but when you talk to them, each one of them had a slightly different perspective on what the creature was. So over time, and you talk about the hodag, right? Okay, this creature is described as multiple different things. What is the other one called? Not the hodag. There's another one, the howler. People describe it as having horns. Sometimes it has a mane like a lion, and then sometimes it just looks like a wolf with horns. It's always got horns, because if it doesn't have horns, then it's probably not that. But you get these different descriptions from these different people, some from Missouri, some from Arkansas, always in the Ozarks, the Ozark howler. And you get these, like I said, like the hodag. It's like this weird mishmash. And you say, well, how could these people, they're seeing all this weird stuff. Like, what and why, how are these creatures all? I'm going to tell you. Because people are seeing different things. That could be one of the explanations. And they're just kind of like putting it together, or they're putting their preconceived notion onto it. Or the other thing that could be happening with all of these weird is that they're chimera creatures that were created by the fallen, the Archons, the Anunnaki. To what purpose? I don't know. I mean, if they were an ancient civilization that lived for thousands, millions of years even, I mean, Dr. Moreau's island would be nothing.
Yeah.
Because if you read the Vedas, you know, it talks about how there were two civilizations, Lemuria and Atlantis, right? And they were at war. And it goes along with what Plato says, that there was, you know, these continents that sunk, you know, whatever. The war that they fought destroyed the continents, and there was a flood, destroying, you know, our past. These civilizations were over 1 million years old, but about 25,000 years ago, they decided to just blow each other all to hell, because supposedly Atlantis wanted to rule Lemuria and whatever. We could get into a whole thing about that. That's not what this episode is about. But I'm saying, if you look at our history, it's not a few thousand years old. And for us to say, well, Samaria is this ancient place, really, it's not. It's just ancient to us. Because look at Göbekli Tepe. I mean, we look at Göbekli Tepe, and you're like, how old is it? 11,000? Now they're saying maybe 13,000, maybe. But then you got Hancock, my buddy Graham Hancock, I like Graham. He's talking about how these things are 28 to 30,000 years old. I'm sitting there watching him going like, Graham, you know, that's not. He's being conservative. He's being very conservative. And he you know, and there's basically archaeological proof of this. And why does everybody have the same damn ziggurat designs and all that? To me, it's pretty damn obvious. Yeah, you got to convince some people, you know. I call those people NPCs, because you're not looking at the truth. And then they're like, well, the Bible says, the Bible. Okay, yes, the Bible. Which part of that was copied from the Sumerians. The truth. It is the truth. People don't like it when you say that. They get mad, they get under your skin, whatever. Because I don't think that part of that has anything to do with the new part. And I tell people that. Mm-hmm. I get attacked viciously for this in this community, because unfortunately in this community there are some people that have the retardation. They're redneck hillbilly people. The hills have eye people, and they're just like, and I mean, they're going to do what they do, eat each other, and you know,
eat boogers, too.
Whatever they do, eat crayons. I don't know what they do. I don't care.
Dance in the forest.
Old shoes.
make a silly, just outlandish lies about people who they don't like because you're telling people something that they don't agree with. So what?
Opening thought processes.
If you follow the trail of the information, you will come to the realization that vampires are very real. And they've been with us for a long time, probably the most ancient predator we have, something that can blend in with you.
I'm actually curious about that because, the Labantu obviously being looked how she looked, but then even in ancient Egypt, Lamashtu, but then in ancient Egypt, they talked about Sekhmet, who had a very similar appearance. But one thing I've noticed is like their appearances are usually very savage and beastly. But then when we head over to the West, they've kind of transformed themselves to try to blend in more. Where it seems so interesting to me is like, what is the reason why they abandoned their more vicious and like beastly ways and started trying to look more human?
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, obviously, not all of them have done it because, as Beck has experienced, I mean, there's still creatures, and even in the Philippines with the, what is it called?
The Aswang?
Aswang.
The Oswing.
The Oswang. I mean, it still has maintained its appearance of like this very terrifying and beastly creature. What has led for it to decide to change its appearance to try to blend in better?
Well, I was actually thinking something similar earlier. What while you were in the middle of telling the story, about how, like, what if these metaphysical, the spiritual creatures, like whatever realm that they exist in, like you know how animals here over time that they develop different adaptations to their environment,
Like raccoons, they're
Yeah.
trying to become more domesticated.
Yeah, I mean, like, why not them? Like, why wouldn't they change over time to adapt to their environment, to adapt to the times? I mean,
Well, yeah, but what's different about the West to the East that has led for them to keep some of the ways they were there compared to here? And is it the lack of maybe spirituality or lack of wanting to be found out that has led to them to just like, oh, okay, we'll blend in and try to do things more, do subterfuge and like be more hidden. While in the East, it's not like a question
yeah,
as much, so that they're like, why would we hide? You already know about us.
Dude, the chat has some interesting stuff. Not that you guys aren't making good points, but the chat has some interesting conversations going on here. Let me start with this one, and that's Joel Bonnet. Read his.
pre-Adamic war with the planet Rehab, aka Tiamat, with Haaretz, aka Earth, is interesting.
Well, what do you think, Joel? You're actually Jewish. I mean, what do you think of this? I mean, it's interesting because you have your own view. Everybody has their own view. And here, Dear Healer says, I keep hearing about vampires, but are they really real? Yeah, they are. 100%.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe 5 years ago, you might have been able to tell me maybe something else, Joe Pop says something, numbers were fewer, had to blend in to survive. Yeah, that could be what they were doing. A lot of interesting comments here in the chats. I really, this is crazy. Really interesting stuff. Everybody giving their opinions on what this stuff could or, be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean,
this is how you give thought ideas. You're supposed to give out, what you may believe, so that someone can come and challenge it or add to it, and then through that you'll slowly discuss what may be the limiting possibilities. And
somebody mentioned Sekhmet on here. See if you can find that comment. I'm looking for it. One of the listeners mentioned Sekhmet.
Don J. I watched the Castlevania series on Netflix, and Sekhmet was in the show. She isn't a vampire, but looks more feline in appearance. Yeah, because she is the Eye of Ra
Yeah, Ra.
made.
Amun Ra, yeah.
Mhm,
Do you know the story?
yeah, she when Ra was getting older, the humanity decided to, I don't know if it was mock him or plot against
Turn
him.
their back on
Yeah,
him,
turn their
basically.
back on him basically, and in anger, he decided to take his eye out and turn it into Sekhmet, which became the embodiment of like punishment on humanity. But through doing that, she actually became kind of bloodlusted and craved blood more and more and more. So she went overboard. By that point, though, he couldn't really turn her back or take her or like stop her anymore.
Yeah.
So he decided to trick her
They tricked her, yeah.
into drinking a lot of alcohol, got her
Yeah,
drunk.
and they dyed it with like red ochre. Or
Yeah,
something like
they
that.
basically made it look like blood.
Blood. It was like a
But
river.
she was bloodthirsty like crazy.
Yeah,
to
and
the
I can't
point.
remember what river it was, if it was the Euphrates or something. But
Mhm.
she ended up like drinking and getting intoxicated, and
Mhm.
that's how they tricked her.
And when she woke up, she was through it.
Interesting thing about the appearance of the Lilitu too, or Lamashtu, which is one of them. It's a hybrid creature which can look like a lion, but sometimes looks like a jackal.
Mhm.
And interesting that this Omar guy tells him, you know, hey, this is ashes of a jackal, the
Yeah.
bone, ashes from the bones of a jackal.
One thing I find very interesting is that they specifically mention her as being undead. You know, like she craves blood because back then it was like the lifeblood, or it was considered like the pathways of the soul or something.
Well,
like,
think about this, because you know his name is Amun Ra,
Mhm.
and there is a demon, the Mesopotamian region in the Levant, named Amun, like Amon. You can look him up, and he's got like a snake-like tail. But Lamashtu is seen sometimes with taloned feet and has a snake-like tail. Sometimes described as that, but sometimes the tail looks more like a lion's tail.
well, the Oshwing in the Philippines has like the
Snake-like,
snake-like
yeah.
tail.
And so you get these weird, like, different types of. Let me put the microphone. You get these weird, like, different types of like creatures that fit these descriptions, and you don't really know, like, man, you know, I don't know. People are all seeing something different, but I don't believe they're seeing something different. I believe it's the same thing. I really
Yeah.
do. You know what? It's like this. Okay, so I got a story one time, and I remember this lady was telling me, and if I remember correctly, her name started with an L, but I'm gonna go back and reread before I start quoting her. I found it when we were doing the research for this, and there was so many different, like, not all like this, but different things, you know. And so I was kind of, and you guys saw me. I was still doing research until the 11th hour up here, because we had originally, what was it, on Wednesday? We didn't get to do the show. We had a lot going on. Wife's had health issues, of course. If you know, you know. And so we didn't get to do the show, but I was doing research, and I was like, well, we're going to do this Dogman episode. And then yesterday, I just said, you know what? I want to do this vampire one, because it was really interesting, because I started going down the rabbit hole in the research. And so I have the other show ready to go, which we can do on Wednesday. But I was like, dude, this was interesting to me. So I just started like kind of cramming and saying, I'm going to do this one. And one of the things I learned when I learned stuff, people think, oh, you already know everything because you're doing the research, or somebody, whatever. Or people think that they think they know everything, right? Because they're doing the research or whatever. Dude, you can always learn something.
Mhm.
And that's you constantly learning. And I noticed like the similarities between all these different creatures. But okay, so this is gonna be a long-winded. How do I put this? Long story short, a woman had an alien abduction. She noticed that there were 4 of these grays. They were the tall grays. Those ones typically took her through like whenever she would be abducted with outside of her body. there were these tall ones that would come. I have a theory about that. I think because the biological robot, the small grays, I think that they were created by the tall grays to be like vessels, and that they can actually inhabit them. This is my theory, totally my theory. Nobody's told me this. This is what I think. I have reasons for it. You know, we need to bring Rob Yox back on and let him talk about it. Because I was throwing stuff out there. I think it was him. I don't know if it was me and him or me and Jason Bland, but I was talking with these guys, and one of the things I thought about was like they inhabit the vessel of these small grays. When typically when the abduction happens, when it's physical, they're the small biological robot grays. I call them biological robot. Maybe that's not what they are. I don't know. But and I'll tell you what this has to do with the price of rice in China here. This creature that we think of as the vampire, I think it affects them too. Because there was a woman who noticed that one of the creatures that was with these grays was a little bit different than the other. There was 5 of them. There were 4 that were tall, whatever. And one of them was acting weird, and its eyes had a red dot inside of the black. And when it got closer to her, the others were kind of like moving around doing something on this, what she thinks was a ship. This thing went over to her and opened its mouth. Its mouth was not a little slit, whatever. It opened its mouth like a freaking jack-o'-lantern with a bunch of teeth. And she thought it was going to unalive her right there on the ship or wherever she was at. And 2 of these entities turned around and looked, and they were like, whoa, like they were taken aback by this thing and its appearance. And when it turned, she's like, it was different than them. And it jumped on one of them and started attacking them. And then they all left the room, and she's thinking, oh, great. Now I'm in here with this one of these creatures, one of the grays who's obviously turned into something else.
Something that obviously freaks them
out.
And I'm scared.
So they ran out, but then they came back in and they basically shot it with what could only be described as like a gun, but there was no, like she didn't see, it wasn't like Star Wars where you see like laser beams. And it just started like making holes in this thing, and eventually it just unalived it. And then they came in, these little ones came in and drug it out. So what the hell was that? Like, what was that?
That's bizarre.
Was that a vampire? Was it a gray that was infected with the vampiric? I mean, give me what you think in the comments here, and I mean, I'll just tell you. I mean, her name was Tina. I'm sorry, Dina. Her name was Dina, and like I read that, and I was like, it was just I didn't talk to her yet. That's why I'm saying I got to get in touch with her. She gave me that one back in September. And we got this damn war with these lunatics that cause all this trouble. So you can't, there's always something going on. So we got to, like Sparky was saying, you got to answer these,
Yeah.
So, but anyways, they disrupt and they cause a lot of problems. But, it'd be so much easier if you could just just sit there and do your research and do the show and not have to. But the world's not perfect. So you have this story that was just sitting there in the queue, and I appreciate you, Tony, not putting it with aliens and putting it with the out of place thing you put it.
Oh, well, I mean, it made sense to me. Vampires. So I was like, it definitely goes with bats.
Was not even where it was.
Well,
it was in Ancient Mysteries.
For once, it paid
it's an
off,
ancient mystery. Why
it wasn't a mystery? Why it was in a spaceship?
Yeah,
I was wondering why it wasn't with bats, so I put it over there.
Yeah, well, anyway,
I have
confidence paid off. Let's put it that way.
I have a very intensive and strict organization process.
Yeah,
back on him, I guess, while he's talking.
Yeah, it's called just scattering stuff.
That's a lie. See, that doesn't make any sense.
You know what? To be fair, though, I don't know that you're the one that did that. I don't know anybody. It was one of us.
I don't remember that story, so I don't think I did that.
Yeah, it might not have been.
I'll admit to other ones, but I don't think I did that.
Organized chaos.
We don't know because Anthony Tony ain't gonna admit it if he did.
I did.
He's gonna say what he just said.
No, I admitted to what is it? The one with the goat man or putting goats.
He's just gonna say something that doesn't make much sense, and hope that you just give up on.
Tony works a lot, so there you go. He works a lot, so he does
I work on myself a lot.
He's working on himself. But it's fortunate though, because I was looking into the ancient Sumerian, and I was thinking, what could this thing be? And so I was looking into a folder. It's not real big. It was just kind of like a little side pocket. I'm like 4 things in there, and that was it. And I was like, what is that?
Look, when in doubt, we can just blame Armando.
Don't blame Armando. He's not here to defend himself. But he did that too. He did.
We all did.
He made mistakes.
Because you kind of just, when we first started, we were just receiving all kinds of stories, so we were just making up new folders because we didn't really have an idea,
man, and we didn't know which ones we put where. Mm-hmm. Well, and another thing too, like in the early days, we got like maybe 2 a week or something like that, and I was doing stories that I had gotten from and then I was like, well, eventually, people will start sending us stories, and y'all two probably doubted me. I said, no, people are going to hear the show, they're going to like it, and then they're going to send us stories, and then they did. Because people were like, doubting that it was going to happen. I said, come on. But Armando, rest in peace. He worked hard on the show too. He did,
he really did.
For the time he was on it, but all the bull crap, people fighting, attacking her, he just says, dude, and he even encouraged me to just get out of it. It's not worth it. He goes, you had no idea people were like that in this field. I didn't realize how bad it was. But I got people who told me this is paid opposition. You don't know. You don't really know, but we're going to find out. I can tell you that.
You don't realize how deep the swamp is until you step in.
Yep. Drain the swamp here. And we need to drain the swamp here in this community. And one of the things people could do is I'm not going to say anything to these people. Just, who they are. Don't associate with them. Don't associate with frauds, hoaxers, and people that do all this kind of garbage. Just don't associate with them. Cut them out like cancer. That's it. Period. They're not going to have a voice if people stop listening. So one of the things I figured, when she was talking about that, now what this has to do with anything is that this is a creature that's been around and it affects apparently other species. If that's the case, if that is to be believed, this thing could affect other species. This could be something that, goes further than we could possibly imagine.
Well, what about that story about the vampire that they had locked up? Like they always called it
in the cube.
They called it like a disease or like a plague, basically. They never really referred to the creature itself. They just were like, oh, it's a plague, and it's like a virus, a parasite that just goes from host to host. And the fact that they had it locked up like that obviously means that they don't want to handle it themselves, because obviously, I'm guessing it can affect them as well.
Maybe they were studying it to try to figure out how to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I think what I'm trying to say here, Lo, is like, think of it like this. She noticed a difference between the different grays, right? One of them didn't look the same as the others, but the others didn't seem to notice until it flipped out and did what it did. These beings could all be similar to one another, just like some people, though. There's white people, then there's different types of white people, and then there's black people, and then there's different types of black people, and then there's Asian people, different types of Asian people, Arabic people. There's all these different types of people. Mm-hmm. There's all these different types of Hispanic people. If you can't, like, you take a Venezuelan next to an Argentinian, they are different looking.
Yeah.
Different parts of Mexico, there's more like European blood, and there's more native in certain areas, like in the Yucatan is more native. It's like really darker people, and then the further to the north and west, you get like a lot of European where the Spaniards settled. And then in Mexico City, it's kind of a mismatch. You have these Indian people that look like they're Indios, as we call them. And then you have the Spaniards. And so you got this kind of mismatch of people. So if somebody were to see like 2 Asian people and a black person, they'd be like, oh, I saw these beings, but like somebody, like an alien, like if we came to their place,
they wouldn't like have the concept of like, well, no. These are different, ethnically different groups.
Yeah, they might think they're different types of aliens.
Species, yeah.
It could also be, though, that like if we are to believe that this parasite or whatever it is seeks to blend in, obviously, then whatever it did to blend in wasn't noticeable by these other grays, but it became extremely obvious to us because we relied on different things. So, like, well, for instance, just in the bug world, if I put down like a bunch of bugs to you, they might just seem like, oh, it's all the same thing. But to someone who studies insects, they might be able to notice the subtle differences because they know to look for those things. But like for you, it just be like, oh, that's a beetle, that's a beetle, that's a beetle. But like they could be very varied, or they could be widely different based on things that they are trying to look for. So if it's trying to blend in and hide to be among these grays, it might specifically choose to do those things to hide. And because of that, because we don't know to look for those specific things, we see it as a whole and just see like, oh, it looks different, obviously, to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or I mean, like, okay. Also, you could draw the comparison that, like, like in this country, that it used to be inhabited entirely by different Native American tribes, and like if someone who doesn't know, that just on the surface just looks at all these different tribes side by side, you can't tell just by looking at them that these people are wildly very different culturally.
Some of them you can.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like just like in general. That they're ethnically they look similar, but they're very, very different. But
well, like a lot of people. Okay, take for example the Creek and the Lakota.
Uh-huh.
The Creek and the Lakota, like the Lakota, they literally were from like the East, like in the Carolinas or something originally. And when the settlers came, they moved further and further west, until eventually they were out on the plains where the Creek Indians were from. The Crow, I'm sorry, the Crow. I said the Creek, Crow. Creek are different. But the Crow, they hated the Lakota. And they went to war with them. Like, I posted something about it on Facebook. And the Lakota, they were like, oh, the Lakota, like, oh, this is our land, whatever. Well, not really. You came and you took it from the Crow. I'm not judging or anything. I'm just saying that's what really happened.
Yeah.
They have their reasons for doing it, but they literally genocided 3-4 major tribes on their way to end up there. And I mean, one man's freedom fighters, another man's terrorist. The Crow lamented Custer's defeat because they wanted to get their land back, and they wanted to destroy the Lakota because they had usurped their land. And that area, South Dakota, North Dakota, that was theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about that story we talked about. It's something I thought about recently. You remember how that creature, it was like a bear-like creature or something, and it was stalking those. It was an old story from the old days. They were pioneers, but they were there to look for gold. And that creature, I think it was like a bear-like creature. It was stalking them, and the Lakota had a name for it. And one of those guys in that story, like, I don't remember, he died or something. Somebody had emailed me and they were telling me that they were Crow. And they said, that's a crow, what that was. And the Lakota feared it because it was a shapeshifter Crow native that would use shapeshifting to kill the Lakota. So the Lakota were terrified of it. And this thing, of course, went after the white people too. I mean, they're interlopers too. But it was just a terrible creature. It's kind of like the Bear King, I don't know. Those bear-looking creatures are very terrifying because they're so big. I mean, I'm not saying like you could get away from a werewolf or a dog man. I've seen one, or whatever it is, But what people described as the bear-like creature is way worse. Like, it just seems way worse. Like, it's bigger,
Mm-hmm.
like in proportion to a wolf, and it's more monstrous. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're not gonna get away from it. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's gonna kill you. And that's what it does. It doesn't just look at people and run away, whatever. It's trying to get into people's houses. There's a reason why it wants to do it. But people they've had encounters and they've been able to, rebuke it in the name of Christ, which tells me it's demonic.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of this stuff is, look at Lamash too, like what we're talking about. That's a demon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's from a bloodline of the Archon. It's a demonic entity. And look at, you know, what these people, they do all these different things to try to get it, you know, to stop it, whatever. So when I was talking to, long story short, when I was talking to Oibek, he says, what would you have done? I said, I would have prayed to Christ. I would have prayed to God through Christ, and I would have like asked Christ to, he goes, you know, these people have told me this is much easier than in Islam. I was like, I mean, maybe you should look into it. You know, I mean, I wasn't being smart ass or crass with him. I just said, maybe you should look into it because it does seem to work. I mean, it does seem to work. I mean, I don't know, man. That's just my take on this. Who knows what it is? I mean, we could probably sit here all day and go over story after story, encounter to encounter, and people can tell their encounters, you can do whatever. But you know what? Let's set it up to where people want to come on tomorrow and talk about it. If you have a vampiric type encounter with an entity or something that's vampiric,
You want to expand on our conversation that we had here.
and if anybody wants to remind me, and send me a text right now, so I'll remember to do it, Anthony. But tomorrow I can literally, we're going to be on tomorrow night. But, you know, it's the open lines. People can jump on and call in, whatever. Monica Rollins is going to join us. Abe might jump on. I know that Sparky, if you're there out there, you want to come on tomorrow night, you're welcome to too. And of course, Dick Richards, hopefully they'll be there. And if anybody wants to join and talk, you know, I'm not going to let it turn into what happened last Monday where we had to have a reckoning with these people. I don't want to think about these people. I don't want to deal with these people. Let the lawyers deal with them. I don't want to deal with them.
I'd like to see you on Marine. Marines call me Doc.
We need to record with him and Joel. Well, we haven't even finished recording with what's his face, Sean. We still got to finish Sean. We got a donation. Oh, you know what? That
was Joe 3 Pops.
We ain't got no donations tonight. What the heck? It's all just memberships. Oh, and that reminds me, 2 things we got to talk about before you get out of here, folks. Before we get out of here, we're doing a giveaway tonight. Hoodies. We're going to give away hoodies. We put the order in. It should here be by December 11th. That's not going to happen. They're lying. It's only 4 days. I'm going to go back because I know they deliver 4 days. They'll deliver part of it, and the rest of it will trickle in. The store is open, though. It's under Printful because I still have not been able to go and get with Seven Clay. We still deal with them all the time. They do some of our stuff. They do all of our security stuff. But we finally came to an agreement with Printful, and they're making a bunch of stuff for us because the website was down. And I just didn't have time to mess with it. But we've been doing a lot of stuff now, getting stuff together. The hoodies are coming in. They should be here. December 11th was the earliest. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's December 16th or something like that. So by mid-December they'll be here. But you can still win a hoodie, and we can put you down for it. So here's what I got to tell you, folks. That's one thing that's going on. The other thing that's going on is if you are on the Patreon, you're about to be really happy because we are going to be doing an extra show. We said we were going to do it after Thanksgiving. Here we are, you know, a little over a week about, you know, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start doing either a Tuesday night Patreon only. We might do it this Tuesday, this Tuesday, and then Wednesday we'll be back here. Depends on my throat, my voice, and how I feel because I've been kind of like talking a lot. I've had a lot of talking to do and interviewing a ton of people. And the last 4 days has been nothing but just talking. So what we're going to do, if we don't do it, then we're going to do it on this Thursday, and that will take place for the Patreon. But we're going to try and do one every week. And then we're going to try and do the members only every other week. So we decided instead of doing like a pre-record, retelling people's encounters on the pre-record or bringing people on, whatever, we're just going to do it on a live stream, but it's a Patreon only live stream. So you're going to basically get what we got going on here, but it's going to be Patreon only. So that's good news, right? I mean,
yeah.
And it's going to be a small chat. It's going to be kind of like Abe's show, you know, or Jason Bland, where they only have like 30, 40, 50 people, whatever. But we want to grow the Patreon. We want to grow the Patreon. And, we're hoping that more people will join the Patreon. And so you can be a part of that. Because, and the main reason for that is too the live stream, because we may just end the Wednesday live stream and just make that. We're going to decide on that in January, like I told you guys months ago. But we want to do that because we don't want to be messed with. These people seem to really they hate the live stream. They watch the live stream. They don't really mess with the pre-records. But if we put it behind the paywall on Patreon, then they can't mess with us anymore. Because if they want to mess with us, they got to pay. And then you can mess with me all you want because you're paying for it.
You got to pay for the privilege of trolling us.
You got to pay for the privilege of my company. So I'm joking. That's Bill the Butcher from Gangs of New York. Good friend of mine, I'm kidding. But seriously, that's what we're going to do. And so I've had it with all the nonsense, and I'm not going to acknowledge people anymore. I'm just, done with it. It's going to go legal. I mean, and that's going to happen. They can say and do whatever. I don't let them. The more they do now, the worse it is for them. I don't care. I'm done with it, dude. I mean, you all know that I'm not the ladybird killer of the lake or whatever, and I'm not the Austin Hammer. I mean, all these, these people just say these wild, outlandish BS, and don't care. I will sometimes though show you what they're saying just because it's so damn funny. And that was one. Did you see the one they made of me? They took an old photo of me and they put long hair on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, dude, if you wake up every day and that's your goal is to come after me, you need to get a life. All right? It's so ridiculous. So anyway, that's what we're doing. So we're gonna be doing an extra show at least for now until the end of the year. Then we'll make a decision on in January. But it's looking like we're gonna do it for the Patreon. We're gonna do a live stream. That's gonna be for all of us because I like the interaction that we can do. And plus you get more time.
I think there's a way you can just stream directly on Patreon and cut out YouTube altogether, which would probably be easier.
Yeah, because we may just have to eventually just leave YouTube altogether. That's what these people want. But I mean, I'm not trying to give them what they want, but I don't give a shit. I don't care. As long as you guys show up and I can have a platform to retell the encounters on, I don't care. They don't, doesn't matter. We just need somewhere to talk where we can not be harassed and where Billy the Kid doesn't come and clip my stuff and turn it into and we all know who he is, and go and turn it into some bullshit because he takes everything out of context, That's my main thing, dude, is just, getting that, this just not being interrupted and being messed with, And I think that the Patreon live stream is going to catch on. I think we're going to eventually, maybe we'll get 100 in there, 200 people, who knows? But you'll have access to it if you join the Patreon, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 tier. The higher you join, the more you get. You get the swag. So it's going to be awesome. So that's what's happening. Like I said, I'll make a decision. It'll be a game day decision. We'll decide on Tuesday whether or not we're going to do it. And if not, then we'll jump on. We'll do it probably Thursday or Friday. Just depends. And Richard, you're going to be on tomorrow night with us. Hopefully, you come on.
Also, Doc, I saw your message. Did you send your information to the giveaways email or the regular email? Also, you can also message us directly on Patreon, or send an email to giveaways@pftpodcast.com. Because I went through all the emails on the giveaways. I don't remember seeing your information there, and this was recently. So
said yes, giveaways.
Okay. Here, I'm gonna put it in the chat just to make sure that there's no typos or anything.
Here's another one. Raven says that they haven't gotten their package.
Please.
We have to track down these packages.
Okay.
Thor Wolf, I agree with you, man. I mean, it's
There we
a
go.
bunch of nonsense with these people, dude. Lynn says, "Will you be sending out the beanie soon?" Did we send the beanies? You have to ask Maddie. She's been doing the giveaways.
Yeah, I think Maddie, because she called me asking where the beanies were. I told her there's a box of them in there, so she grabbed them. She was looking for them, and she put them in the.
When will that be? Like when did she do it?
The last run of mail house, which was, I think it was last week.
Last week? I don't think so. I thought it was like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
She did them recently.
Yeah, she did them recently. I
Yeah.
thought it was Tuesday. So if that's the case, then that should be coming in like that. Then that's probably what it is. So, anyways, we're going to do a hoodie giveaway. Who wants a hoodie? And we have a bunch of different ones. I don't know if I have a picture of them. I'd have to log in. I don't know the.
But they look pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And there's like 20 different kinds.
Mhm.
We ordered like $4,000 worth of hoodies.
Can't
Like,
wait.
We spent the Patreon money on hoodies.
You'll see me wearing them.
So who wants a hoodie? Tell me if you haven't won, you'll get first dibs. People who haven't won. So
That's
just
some
say,
of
hey, I want a hoodie. This is some of them?
Yeah. I mean, that's the order, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the
So
whole thing.
there's a couple different ones. There's a gray one and a blue one. Where are the others?
You got to scroll.
Here it goes. Here's another one right there. That's another one. And then we got this one here. We got that color. We got that one coming. It's going to look good. We're going to show them when we get them. We have the shirts. This was the one we got for Christmas. So we thought that one would be really cool. We ordered all of these, the different sizes. And here's the pink one, and then this black and white. And then this one was my personal favorite. I thought this was cool.
That's
Purple,
the one.
Purple with the green.
Yeah.
And then we got some more of these, like the green and black, the army green. And then we got this one. This one's a cool color. It's like an indigo. It's an indigo blue. You can't really see the color on there. Like it's pretty cool though.
They all look good though.
There's a bunch of them. This isn't even all of them. Where's the rest of them? So there's others too. There's a bunch of them on there, and we got the pink. We got those pink ones for the ladies that like pink, or dudes, or whatever. Yeah, Jaggy, that's awesome that you like the gray and black hoodie, because that is the one that was the one that's for this year. That was the main one. We ordered the most of those. It's like a charcoal gray with black on it. Yeah, that one really popped. So if somebody could post a link to the giveaways, let me see here. Oh no, I got it. Here it is right here. Giveaways at PRTpodcast.com, folks. Like I said, giveaway idea first. So yeah, so if you haven't won, somebody say here, I haven't won, and we'll try to hook you up so we can get it people that haven't won. Here's another person that says they haven't won. Says I won one in February, never got it. But we've mailed out a lot of stuff. And be sure when you get your merchandise to repost it to the Paranormal Roundtable group and to the Paranormal Roundtable page. There's two different things, right?
Yeah.
Paranormal Roundtable page, I think, what does it look like? The page?
It's just a page with the orange logo on it.
Yeah, let me find it.
Here, I got it. Looks like this.
You got it?
Yeah.
Here is the Paranormal Roundtable page. That's what it looks like. Right? And then we have the Paranormal Roundtable group. Post it to both of those. And you can post it to the other groups we have too, like the conspiracies, theories, all that, whatever. We have the holistic healing. It's just medical stuff. And then we have like the prayer group. We got a bunch of different groups, you know. And then there's PRT News and PRT News Public. But we got all these different groups. Here's one. She says, I haven't won. Lizzie says, I won a t-shirt, but not a hoodie. Okay. The Via Angel says, haven't won, but I want a beanie. Gotta check out the store. And the store doesn't have the beanies or the caps. That's something we get from Seven Clay. That's why we wanted to open up a store with them too. Because we had two different stores. We had another one called Spring or something like that.
Yeah, we saw that one.
And we got rid of them, but we just go to Printful, and then we'll have another one eventually with Seven Clay. So, is there a store link? Can we put it in there?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, but for anyone who has won something and has not and has sent your information to giveaways at PRTpodcast.com, and if you haven't gotten your stuff, please send it again. We switched our mail carriers because the last one we kept getting reports of people not getting their stuff after we mailed it off, and some people we mailed their stuff off twice and they still never got it. That mail carrier was just terrible. They used to be good, then they changed.
They got bought out.
Yeah, they got bought out, and then they just all went downhill after that. So they're not getting our business anymore. We switched to a different business. But yeah, so just any outstanding giveaways, swag bags, anything like that, please send us an email to giveaways@prtpodcast.com. It's right here scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Just let us know your name, your mailing address, what you won, and if it's a shirt or a hoodie, we need your shirt or your hoodie size.
Somebody says, will you have zipper hoodies in the store? We're not giving away zipper hoodies, but we have them in the store.
Yeah.
So we had somebody I just picked right here. Deanna says, I haven't won. Well, you win, Deanna. How about that? You win. Just send your information and giveaways like we just said. Somebody said Deer Healer has never won. I didn't know that. Deer Healer, where you at? Christine Crawford says, I've never won. Well, you just won. You just did. How about that?
Andreas, that's the site to our page. If you click the 3 tabs on top, it'll take you to the store. Here, let me post. I'll post again the actual just store to take you there directly.
Deer Healer. There you go. Deer Healer says never won. Well, you just did. So y'all are the 3 winners of the hoodies. We're going to be doing this every time we're live. If you want to win something, join the Patreon, because every episode that we do the Patreon, you're going to be it's going to be a real easy to win, because there's only going to be probably at max like 100 people in the chat right now. So join the Patreon and you'll have a really, really good way to win, because what we're going to do with the Patreon is we're going to give away beanies and hats and things that you will not get, exclusive merchandise that you won't get in the store. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to give away those lamps. We're going to give away all kinds of stuff. The show we're going to do either Tuesday or Thursday for the Patreon this week, we're going to try and give away what the heck was it we were going to give away? We talked about it. Oh, one of the tumblers. So if you haven't won a tumbler and you're just, even if you're on $10 or $20 tier, we're going to give away one of those. And then we're going to give away mugs. We have a bunch of stuff, and we got a whole bunch of. We got a new sticker distributor, so we got a bunch of different stickers, and we got Paranormal Sound Table stickers. We got the Bear King, and then we got you made the logo for it. What's it called? The Flying Dutchman.
Flying Dutchman. Yeah.
Tony did a good job on those.
Yeah,
he really did. He worked hard on that. And so let's do it, man. That's what we're doing. And we're going to give away all kinds of stuff. We're going to give away books, everything. It's going to be every time we're on the Patreon. We're going to give away on the Patreon only live stream. The only way you can do it is join the Patreon. So I'd go over there and I would join right now. And then we're going to get back on track, and we're going to do a members only. So get your name in green if you're not in green, because we're going to do members only, and we're going to do it every other week. but we're going to do the Patreon every week. And then hopefully in January, we'll decide what we're going to do, because we may end up doing like a members only, like every week, pre-record, because all we got to do is do one of those. And then we're going to do the Patreon is going to be a live stream, because I think it'd be funner to be interactive. I like Abe's chat, you know, because it's not like a ton of people in there. It's like 50, 60 people. Sometimes it's cool when you get 70, 80 people in there, but it's real cozy. Like everybody knows everybody. You can talk and everybody. And it's like
a cool little like inner circle of people, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, but that's cool, man. And like, so we're going to do that with the Patreon. We're just going to, you know, and it'll grow. Eventually it'll grow. And it's going to be hopefully just like this, except, you know, we're not going to have to be having people clip and mess with us and attack us and whatever.
And Doc, I saw your message just now. I see your email. So we have your info. We're going to get you taken care of. Because I just checked the email and I saw yours was right up top.
Jessica, if you've been on for 2 months, then it's time to do that. Put in for your swag bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're on Patreon and you're a paying Patreon member, remember, we're going to be doing it this week. So it's either going to be Tuesday or Thursday or maybe Friday. But I will, if you get the push notifications, I will come on at some point and tell you what's going to happen. It'll be a quick update, whatever, probably. And I will address it and let you know when we're going to do it. So you will be ready. We'll talk about it again tonight. And then, you know, we'll go and let you know tomorrow. I might announce it tomorrow night. I might be ready to announce it tomorrow night. We'll see. But hopefully, you know, that'll happen and we can get it going. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, and there's going to be exclusive stories that are going to be on the Patreon. Like the story that we're going to tell on this Patreon live stream is Griffey and Kevin from California, the ranch out there. We're going to talk about the Calhouns, the ranch. They're not Calhouns, but they're the people that were out there. Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I got to tell you, my wife knocked it out of the park again. She's got 2 new songs. We played one.
Well, the second Krampus one, I don't know what's going on, but it's like it's in a format that we can't play. So, but I mean, we have the first one.
Really?
Yeah, and Nellie's trying to figure out why it's not like sending her the regular format.
Okay. Well, let's play the one we played at the beginning of the show. We're gonna play it now. I want to check it out. I want to hear it. But yeah, there's 2 of them. She actually, Anthony made one, and it was good, you know. But then Nellie made another one, and they were both good. One sounds kind of like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's really good. They are.
They're both really good. I mean, I don't
know which one I like better.
Yeah.
Dear Healer, if you won, how do I get the hoodie? Okay, down at the bottom, giveaways at prtpodcast.com. Send your information, your size, everything. Tell us your handle on here, because some of you people, I know you. Some of them I don't. I just know you by your handle. So, yeah.
And Jessica, yes, you can message us directly on Patreon with your information for your swag bag.
And like I've said before, please pray for Nellie. She's going through some stuff. And these people, they are heartless. They don't care. They keep attacking and saying the most horrible things. And she's constantly in there trying to defend me. And I told her, don't bother. You know, I don't care what these people say about me. They can say whatever they want to say. You ain't hurting me. You're the one wasting all your time saying all this stupid crap. The only thing you do, you bother me when you attack my family and friends. That's what bothers me. The way they troll good people, mess with people like Elder Bearclaw, or, you know, what they did to Sparky or Abe, or what they're doing to all these people. That's what bothers me. I don't give a damn what you say about me. And they think that I'm afraid to show. They were talking about, I'm going to tell you something, folks. If you go look at my Facebook, there's a picture of, you can see my chest. Like, they're like, why don't you show us your chest? I did. They were talking about, I said something, I'd show myself on Abe's show, because I was sitting without a shirt off. I didn't realize that the camera was on. Like, I thought it was off. Go look. You want to take a look at me? You're gonna be jealous, because it's just more to hate. I have a picture of me without my shirt on. I have it. I put it on my Facebook. Go look.
It doesn't matter. They just they love to hate.
They're gonna hate me no matter what.
Haters
They're
hate.
really gonna hate me when they see that I'm not this blimp that they keep trying to paint this picture that I'm this big, whatever. I'm a muscular dude. I got a little dad bod going on down there, but I'm not a blowed up, whatever they try to make it out like you're some kind of whatever, and then your weight fluctuates when you get older. But y'all gonna be severely disappointed, put it that way, when you go look, because you're gonna be like, oh, this guy, he's not a big lard ass, but they are. They are. It's like, whatever. Yeah. Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't, Doc. Who knows? I don't really care. But the bottom line is they keep messing with, and I'm not going to get into it about them, but they just pray for Nellie. She needs it. And they say things, horrible things, and she doesn't deserve that. She's trying to defend us. That's it. But it's going to come to an end soon, hopefully. It may take a while, but it will. It's going to end. I'm not going to say soon because the wheels of justice turn slow. But we got the ball rolling. That's the most important thing. And it is brutal expensive to get things done. But thank you to those who donated. We literally got 3 donations tonight. Well, is it me? Am I not doing my job? Because if it's me, then just send me a message and say, hey, you don't like me, and tell me why. And not if you're one of the trolls. I don't want to hear from you. We know you hate me. What else we got? Tomorrow night. Tune in tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. We'll be here. All right? Play the music. Let's get out of here. There it is.
Nicht so ein frohes Weihnachtsfest. Für all die sich schlecht benehmenden Kinder. Bald in meinem Korb, dann in den Sarg.
It's Christmas time, and all seems fine. You spent the year without fear, misbehaved and mistreated others. He comes for you, brothers and sisters.
Jingle bell time is a swell time for Krampus to spend the night. You'll be hiding filled with fright. Your Krampus is punishing delight. Lashing his chains and jingling the bell, he's come to take you to hell. Too late to repent, your tears are spent. Krampus comes calling for mercy. You'll be longing, beaten with branches and sticks, 'cause you chose to play trick. Joke's on you, you selfish fool. Now, what's left is a dreadful mess. Jingle bell time is a swell time for Krampus to spend the night. You'll be hiding filled with fright. Your Krampus is punishing delight. Into the basket you'll go, taken in the snow. Tears you'll cry and pain you'll sow. No one can save you, not that anyone should. I wouldn't even if I could. Should have been better, should I behave? Now you're the one, no one can save.
Gute Nacht an alle, die gedient haben. Seien sie im kommenden Jahr gut gelaunt, oder ich werde dich nicht sehen.